and welcome to Tracie Momie Reads. I am back again with another video. Today, I am going to be talking about the book I See You've Called in Dead by John Kenney. I See You've Called in Dead. This book had me in shambles. I have read probably only a handful of books, now this one is included, where I got emotional enough where I had tears in my eyes. But it was really good in that while some of the tears were definitely for the story, it was also just a reflection of life in general, my life and the world and, things like that, where you get these epiphanies and these aha moments and you start to really realize what's important. And when you get to a certain age, you also start to realize that you have less time ahead of you than, behind you, the years that you've already lived, depending on like stats and things like that, like the life expectancy. And even though people are living till they're, 100 or whatever, like what is the quality of life really like? You definitely cannot do things that you could have done in your, 70s or 60s or 50s, or obviously when you're much younger. So it's just one of those things where you just really start to evaluate. You start kind of cataloging things that you've done, things that you haven't done, and just deciding to live your life in a different way, because for so many years, maybe you haven't really been living for yourself. And at some point, time is going to run out. So, that's what I would say to young people, like when I was in my 20s, because, that's what I think a lot of young people fail to realize is that people that are like old to you guys, we were your age once, okay? And the goal of life is to get older, because the alternative is you're dead, right? So if you're blessed, if you're lucky, you will get here too. And I'm sure people in their 20s are going to say your ass is old. But you like when you're young, have experiences, do things, even if you're afraid, do it afraid. Stop worrying about what people are going to say. Stop thinking about being embarrassed. Just stop. It's your life. You get one life. Everybody's not going to approve of the things that you do. But if you, as an adult, and I'm talking like to young adults, not kids that's at home with their parents still. But if you're a young adult and you make a decision, the only thing I would caution you on is make sure you can live with that decision. If you decide to not do something or to do something, because the thing too that you have to realize with making decisions and living your life the way that you want, you also have to take accountability. Okay. So you can't just be like YOLO and hurt somebody and expect they're going to still be in your life, because you may be risking that relationship. You can't just walk away from your job and, you have responsibilities like bills or, things like that, and think somebody else is going to take care of you. Live your life, but do it in a way that you're doing it responsibly. Okay. So that's enough of my old lady rant. Back to the book. I See You Called in Dead. Basically what it's about, there's this man named Bud Stanley. He is an obituary writer. Okay. So his job is to get, and this is like in a newspaper. I don't even know, like, I guess we still have a Houston Chronicle here, but I know, well, online too. I guess they still have some new online, like local newspapers where they still write obituaries. Because I'm just trying to think, it's modern day. It's not like this was set back in the 70s or something, but he writes obituaries. So when someone dies, they send in the information of their loved ones, that most of the time it's pretty generic. It's like, here's Betty Smith. She was born in 1946 and she died on this date in 2025 or whatever. She leaves behind 3 children. Her husband preceded her in death. Betty loved to bake and had 6 grandchildren. I mean, it's very condensed because you can't I mean, it's not a memoir. So it's just like your life is condensed into like a paragraph pretty much, or how much ever space you pay for in the newspaper. And Bud's job was to zhuzh that up a bit. You know what I mean? Like say something more flattering, like Betty, she was a community activist, and her family loved her, and the world is a darker place now that she's gone, so that was his job. But over the years, he had kind of become jaded with it, because, I mean, like, what it's going to entail. You're trying to like fix up things for people, and some of the people, maybe they weren't good people to begin with, but he felt everybody deserved that respect. He just had been falling off lately. He had been at it a long time writing these obituaries, and then in the midst of all this, his wife leaves him, because he's one of these people that played it safe his whole life, right? And did the respectable thing, and didn't really color outside the lines. And his wife left him for somebody more interesting, is what she said. So he's going through it. He's realizing he's getting older, less time ahead of him than behind him. He hadn't really lived the life that he wanted, because I think he wanted to be like a writer, like a serious writer, like an author. And he just kind of fell into newspaper writing, and then he got into, obituaries. So he's just contemplating his life and his decisions, and he starts drinking a lot. So we got a developing alcoholism problem. One night, Bud thinks it'll be like hilarious to, I don't know that he thought it would be funny. I think that he was just trying to see, like, could he write his own obituary? Like, what could he say about himself? What would somebody else say about him? So he went into, like, they use this computer system to, write the obituaries. So he went in there and wrote it. But because his ass was drunk, he accidentally sent it out. So he was on the verge of getting fired from his job, because I think he was missing deadlines, or he was half doing stuff or whatever, which, kind of alludes to the title. I see you've called in dead. Oh, and I don't know if you can see that, like on the some of the letters, they have like newspaper writings that say obituary or whatever. They could not fire him because in the system, he was marked as deceased in the employment system. Somebody had, I guess, seen that, and it triggered something, and he was dead. So they couldn't fire him. So, long story short, his boss tells him, we got to work this out, figure this out, how to get you out this system, because your benefits are going to be messed up. You can't get Cobra. We're going to have to fix this. So you just take some time off and get your shit together. And maybe we can rebound from this. Maybe. So he takes some much needed time off, and he has a friend named Tim. And Tim's a paraplegic. He's bound to a wheelchair. And he wasn't always that way. He was very handsome, very wealthy, like golden boy type thing. And, was going to marry the love of his life. He was in an accident, and it left him paralyzed and totally changed the trajectory of his life. Like they say, best laid plans. And it's one of those things too, going back to a living life and not having regrets. Or, sometimes you're going to have regrets, if you live long enough, you'll probably regret something you did or said. But I think that he had automatically planned this life out for himself, because he just automatically assumed that things were going to go as planned, and they didn't, right? So he and Bud, they started going to funerals. And I think the first one, I don't know if it was for an obituary or somebody that he wrote, and Bud met this woman there, and she said that's what she did. And she was like his age. I think they're like in their 40s or probably older, 50s more than likely. I can't remember their ages. But, they were midlife. And she said that she started going to funerals because, something tragic had happened in her past, and she just wanted a reminder to live. So, when you go to funerals, you do realize that, okay, this person is done, right? This person is laying there before us in this casket or whatever, and they are done with life. You see their loved ones all crying, people getting up saying words, and you start wondering, okay, did they do everything they wanted to do? Did they die the way they wanted to die? Did they make amends before they took their final breath? Did they check off everything on the bucket list? And the woman said the reason why she did that because it was a reminder to live and to think about all the things that you're going to still get to do, that you have the ability to do, that this person and this, that's deceased, they're never going to get to do. So it was something that Bud started doing, and he took Tim along with him, and you could see the changes, and he started doing stuff and getting out of his comfort zone, and doing things that in the past he had put off for various reasons that were really just artificial, that he had made up, for, I think sometimes people, you have these grandiose ideas or plans, and a lot of people don't really pursue them because, it's like, what if it doesn't happen? And a lot of people would perceive that as failure, and they don't want to fail at something, right? But, what if it does happen? And what if it doesn't happen and something better happens? You can't just not try something or not live the life that you want to live because you don't think it's going to work out. A lot of times it won't work out. Like, look at Tim's situation. This man lost his, ability to walk, right? And lost the love of his life as a result. I don't know if he just didn't want to be with her anymore because of his condition and felt she deserved better if she left him. I don't know if they addressed that in the story. But long story short, shit happens. And if you're still alive, you got to deal with it, and you got to keep pressing on. And a lot of people crumble under that pressure. Yeah, it's okay to fall apart, but you got to put yourself back together at some point. Or otherwise you're just living a half life. And that's the thing that Bud realized. He had even been keeping Tim kind of at arm's length, but they really grew closer. And one thing, and I have a note here that I realized that it says, just hit me that all of Bud's friends were from some, different marginalized group. He had a gay friend, because his one of his friends that he worked with, one of his coworkers who was hilarious, he was gay. And then disabled, that was Tim. The woman he met at the funeral, who they kind of started a little thing or whatever. And then there was the child, this little boy who lived on his block. And I really thought that was was a cute, innocent relationship, because I think the little boy reminded him of how, children, they don't see impossibility. They think anything is possible. And through having that relationship and, talking to him and playing with him, he even went to his little birthday party. I think that also helped him realize what's important in life. So, yeah. And then something very tragic happened at the end. And that's the thing that had me in shambles. And I even said, I'm not going to tell you what it was, but I in my notes, I said that what I think is about to happen better not be about to happen. And it happened, and I was just so torn up about it. I don't think I felt that way since the last book I read, where I had that feeling, was Razor Blade Tears at the end. If you know, you know. But yeah, I think sometimes we need reminders, some gut punching reminders that this is not a game. It can be fun, but life is not a game, and it's gonna be gone in the blink of an eye. I remember when I was in my 20s, maybe up until I had kids, in my mid 30s. I do remember those times seeming like they were going on forever and for a long time. And I think that's what lulled me, and probably most people when you're in that age range, into a false sense of it's a long time before I'm, 50 or 40 or old, right? After I had my kids and after I got married, next thing I know, I was 45. And here I am at 55. Blur. A total blur is what happened in those in-between years, because you're so busy going from one thing to the next. The kids are growing up. You're taking them to school. You're going to work. You're doing this. You're doing that. And when you finally have a time maybe to reflect, a lot of damn time has passed. A lot of time has passed. So, yeah, I would wholeheartedly recommend I See You've Called In Dead by John Kenney if you want to be gut punched, if you want to be reminded about what matters and how to take the next steps into living your life. I always love when fictional books pack such a punch and, you know, give us these moments of clarity. You know, it's a fictional story, it's an entertaining story, but this is very real. The things and the themes that run through this book. So yeah, even just talking about it, you see how passionate I'm getting about it. Yeah, okay, I'm going to stop because I can go on and keep rambling about this. If you have read I See You've Called It Dead by John Kenney, I would love to know your thoughts in the comments. What is the biggest takeaway you had from the book? Let me know in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure that you like this video. And if you have not taken the opportunity to subscribe to my channel, go ahead and do that now. Thank you, thank you, thank you to everyone who has already subscribed. You guys enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you next week. Bye.